I'd made more money in 1 year than I ever thought possible, and I'd never been more miserable. So that triggered, why the hell is that happening? And realized, one, money doesn't equal more happiness, and two, I was living in a business world cycle where I was trying to get more clients, more clients, more clients, and instead of focusing on things that mattered, I was chasing a mask, not the purpose path, the mask path.
Instead of starting with how you grew up, I'm actually interested to start before that with
Yeah.
your parents' story.
Great.
So you mention it in the book that how they met, which is quite a cool story, if you want to share it. But then even going back to like how your ancestors came to the US
Yeah.
is interesting.
Yes.
So what's the story?
Yeah. Well, grateful to be here. In a couple hours, I'm flying to London to finish my third book, which is called Epic Journey. And it's pure heart intuition, no overthinking, just writing what my heart tells me to write. And then one of the chapters I just finished is about how my parents met and where their parents came from. But the chapter is really from my mom's perspective, um, of how they met. So just as background, my dad was 61, and my mom was 27 when they met. And my father was a World War II hero, shot down multiple times in combat, many times without a parachute. And he would just get back into a plane. His parents escaped Russia. The pogroms certainly would have been killed, and they came to America speaking no language, or no English, excuse me. And then my mom comes from horrific abuse on her side of the family. And she was 27 when I was born, and they met after a drunk driver hit my dad head on. A drunk driver was killed. My dad somehow survived, and my mom was his nurse. So I asked my mom the other day what was her perspective, so I'll just read it, what she wrote, because it's a better answer than mine, and that's how you learn. But so this is what my mom, her name's Bonnie. So we met early May 1973. He came in through the emergency room, ICU first, a couple nights, then up to the orthopedic floor. I was his night nurse. I asked him if he wanted to meet my mom. He said no. The minute he could get out of bed on crutches, he was chasing me around the floor at midnight. His mom died when he was in the hospital. He started dating me on November 9th. I had another boyfriend before Dad. Dad came to my Uncle Phil and cousin Gary's funeral on November 12th. He let me drive his orange Oldsmobile Tornado, which she described as a pimpmobile, which I crashed in his underground parking lot. First vacation with him was Miami, Florida, where she met all his mobster mafia friends. He brought Melissa, who's my older half-sister, as well. We went to dog races and played jai-alai. I had a very exciting life with Dad. Haven't missed much. That's where it all started. So, yeah.
So do you know much about your grandparents that left Russia?
Oh, I know a lot about them. Yeah, so I'm named after my grandmother, Ida. She was featured in several national newspaper articles. Both my parents were, our grandparents. But she was mainly featured because they sent all four of their sons into World War II. All four children survived. So if you think about the movie Private Ryan, Saving Private Ryan, where multiple siblings died, and then they saved the last one, all four of the Breen brothers survived. And then the newspaper articles described her as the little colonel, when she died, my dad took care of her after his dad died. My dad's dad died after World War II, so for 30 years or so, my dad took care of his mom. And then she died while my dad was in the hospital recovering from that accident. And I can't even imagine how difficult that was for my dad. My dad knew he loved my mom immediately. She had a boyfriend at the time. she actually would marry that boyfriend. My dad actually said it was okay to marry him. He just waited it out, and then my mom would get divorced, and then would marry my dad eventually, and then here I am. So I don't believe in randomness. Things are just meant to be, and overthinking has always confused me, and over preparation, you just go in and see what happens.
Wait, so did that happen? Did she
What?
marry the boyfriend?
Yeah, she married the boyfriend, and then they got divorced.
How long after?
Well, it wasn't that long. Wasn't that long because I came around a few years later. So, yep.
Ah. So what year was it that your grandparents left Russia?
We don't know. We think it was very early 1900s. Yeah, my dad was born in 1916. 1916.
And where in the US did they go to?
Yep. Town called Elgin, Illinois, which is about an hour northwest of Chicago. My youngest son, Chase, who's 9, we went to Elgin for one of his baseball tournaments. He's a really good athlete. And that building, 12 North State Street, where my dad and his brothers and his parents lived in a small apartment next to a tailor shop where my grandfather owned it. So that building still exists. So we just took a photo in front of it. Very powerful to see that building. Very powerful.
And so they were Jewish?
Technically, yes. They all had the 4 children all had bar mitzvahs. I don't think any of them wound up marrying Jewish women. I don't think so. That's an interesting question. See, this is why I like doing these interviews. You learn in real time. But I guess technically they were Jewish, and as you can imagine, faced horrific anti-Semitism in a small suburb of, it wasn't even a suburb then, of Chicago. It was too far away to be considered. I don't even think the word suburb existed then, but yeah, so then they married non-Jewish people. Yeah.
And where does your where does your mom's family come from?
Yep. So my mom's father, either Spanish or Mexican, not sure. He was Catholic. He abandoned the family when she was 3. My mom's mom, she's the only biological grandparent I ever met. Severe mental illness, lot of damage. She was Russian Jewish origin. I don't know. I did meet my great grandparents, both very kind people, very kind. But I didn't go further back in that, other than both my dad's and my mom's side of the family both came from very high level rabbis. I came to discover.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And did your mom grow up in Illinois as well?
Yes.
Huh. Cool. And would your dad talk to you about World War II?
So he died when I was 13. I found the diary of his World War II experiences in the Battle of the Hurricane Forest. I found it after he died. For those who have read Man's Search for Meaning, it's not that horrific, but it's pretty close. In the new book, one of the chapters is he essentially watched his friend, this is graphic for those just for warning, one of his friends die in a plane crash, and his face essentially melted off, his skull was exposed. And then my dad, a couple minutes later, was asked to go on a bombing mission, so he got into a plane. So when people make excuses or overthink things and ask 5,000 questions before the record button's hit, it's always confused me. You just go out and do it. So that's just genetically or how I grew up. But he didn't talk to me specifically about the fighting. What he did tell me when he was training in Colorado, the mountains of Colorado, in a place called Camp Hale, which just became a national monument or national, whatever they call those type of things, nationally recognized space within the United States. he was sleeping and he woke up and a rattlesnake crawled across his neck and then just crawled out of the tent. So yeah, I did. And then we told that story. He came in. It was fourth or fifth grade. We were talking about World War II or something, and then my dad came into like, I don't know, I must have forgotten my code at home, and I told my teacher, I'm like, oh, hey, my dad fought in World War II. You want him to talk to the the kids? And he told that story about the about the snake. Kids didn't understand, but it's just kind of how I grew up.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so what was your growing up like?
No rules. Yeah.
So you were in outside Illinois?
You're specific. Okay, you're right. So currently where we live now is a town called Glenview / Northbrook. I live literally 2 miles south of where I grew up. Yeah. I'm sorry. 3 kilometers. My bad on that. My bad. 3 kilometers.
Which is how far from Chicago?
uh, about 30 kilometers north of Chicago.
Uh-huh. And you're the oldest?
My mom had another child before I was born, so of the Breen boys, I'm the oldest son. My youngest brother had passed away a while ago, so there's two of us left.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you.
I also lost one of my brothers.
Makes perfect sense.
How does that work?
Oh, that's just everything aligns. Yeah. Everything aligns with consciousness and connectivity. After a while, logic only takes people so far. After a while, it's illogic is the only logic, and then love and connectivity. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. That's something we should explore, but let's get to the story of how you're here now. So, okay, so you grew up in Illinois, no rules, meaning what? Your parents were busy working and it was just like
No.
figure out your own way?
No. Well, yeah, but no, there's no. No. Well, most people know the term helicopter parent, so think the opposite of that. Like we would go to movies like my dad would take us to movies like RoboCop when we were 8 or Platoon. So, I mean, most 8-year-olds or 9-year-olds don't see movies like that. Um, and yeah, so it was just free for all. If you've seen like wolves eating a fresh kill or a carcass, that's what like dinner dinner was like that. So it's kind of fun. Yeah.
Got it. And so was your dad retired at that point that you were growing up?
Well, that's a good point. Um, yes and no. He was the CEO of a company. From what I remember, he did stop for a time, but then he went back to work eventually. I spent a lot of time as a child at the racetrack. That's an interesting place to go as a child. You see a lot of interesting things, a lot of interesting people, how horses interact with people, a lot of cigar smoke, But and then I guess I learned in a good way, how to survive and create an innate will within myself to create my own rule system, if that makes sense. Just create my own rule system.
Why were you at the racetrack?
My dad liked to go to the racetrack a lot. It's interesting how your brain works. You target things that I necessarily wouldn't target, but it's really interesting and collaborative. You see things that you see inside the things that I'm saying. It's very interesting.
Yeah, well, I'm like, it needs to make sense to me. Okay, so he liked betting.
My dad? Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, life is a bet.
yeah. but
Most
betting
people,
on horses
yeah,
specifically.
but well, whatever, yeah, but it's at anything. Yeah, most people never take any risk with anything. They don't bet on themselves. It's a great conversation. Yeah, so most people don't take any chances in life and they overthink things their whole life and then they never take any risk and they don't actually learn anything. And the only real learning is when you take a real risk. Um, and then also being at the track, you see the jockeys, which are, that's pure risk, life in their hands. And then the horses, they just want to run. It's beautiful to watch a racehorse run because they're a racehorse and they just want to race. They just want to do what they're supposed to do, and then there's a winner, and then if you show up your best that day and you beat everyone else, then you win. So it's really interesting reflection on life, and then you see the negative aspects of it, the degenerate gamblers or the smokers and the people that are addicted to it. It's very interesting to see that as a child.
So you were just observing it all.
Yeah, well, if for those who can see my hat, it's a raven. So that's my spirit animal. My wife is a dog, thank God. So that's loyal and faithful. And then our 9-year-old is a lion, and our 11-year-old is an eagle, dragon. But a raven just stares at the cliff and observes. So, and then I was a journalist for 20 years, and the only time I really do any talking is in interviews like this. I'd rather just listen to people, which I'm guessing you're like that as well. Um, then I just sit and observe and then simplify it into a connection or a fact or a pattern. So I've always liked to watch and observe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Um, no, I think I like talking a lot, but this is my forced time to listen.
So it's the opposite. This is so collaborative. That's
Mm,
so interesting. So you've created something where you can listen, and people ask me to come on here because they want to hear me talk, even though I'd rather listen. Fascinating.
mm. Okay, and did your mum continue working as a nurse while you were growing up?
My mom's had 3,000 different jobs. I don't even say RETIRE only because it was mentioned. She'll never do that, ever. I won't either. I don't even know what that word means. It doesn't make sense to me. But yeah,
Wait, what? RETI?
RETIRE.
Oh, retire.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Like a bullet, like a bullet. Hearing that, but yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
Okay, so she was just busy doing lots of different things.
yeah. So busy slash business comes from the Old English word bisignus, which means anxiety. So that's another word I never say unless it's brought up.
Huh. So does that accurately reflect what she was like or no?
Oh yeah, yes, yes, definitely. Yeah, the pure
Got it.
survive and thrive. Pure survive and thrive.
And what was it that your parents wanted for you?
I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
Do you know what their values were?
Well, it's an interesting question. I was talking to my mom the other day, and and I don't say this lightly, she's more stubborn than I am. All of us are really stubborn. Everyone in my current family, really stubborn. Uh, it's a tie, but I don't know who's more stubborn, our 11-year-old son or my mom. It's real close. Both tremendous pains in the butt in a good way. But I was asking my mom the other day, kind of like this, but she just, at this point, she said, just follow your heart, which I never thought she'd say that because she's almost, in a good way, she's very robotic. But um, writing this book is through my dad for sure. Yeah. This current one.
What do you mean it's through your dad?
Well, the reason why I'm going to London is I'm following a map that he drew in his World War II diary. We don't have 5,000 hours to explain all that, but um, my destiny's personal destiny is to finish this book. I never thought that would be the case. I thought it was building companies and uh, being a great dad, husband. But this book is actually what it is. So to follow his map, I have no idea what's going to happen. But we're meant to talk today, literally a couple hours before I fly to London. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm just as interested in anyone else. So it'll be really fascinating.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it's something to do with legacy or self actualization.
Yeah, that's a great follow-up question. It's about following your purpose and destiny, and then not making excuses. What separates visionaries, there are only four things that separate visionaries from everyone else. There are only four things. Um, Bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy, two, depression, three, highest level of anxiety you can imagine, and four, trauma as a child or young adult. So non-visionaries, those things are excuses. Visionary, figure it out. That's all it is. So most of the world, those are excuses. Visionary, you figure it out. So
And how do you define visionary?
great question. Thought about that in many iterations. Three components to a visionary. One, they're a visionary. They see things before other people. They're not a business owner because business means anxiety. Anxiety is the opposite of visionary. Two, they live in full abundance, no scarcity, no excuses ever, no excuses ever. My father was shot down multiple times in combat, many times without a parachute, got back into a plane. No excuses, not at the highest level. Three, what really separates the visionaries from the non-visionary. A true visionary will only look at things as investments, not costs. The non-visionaries look at things as cost. If you look at things as cost or what do you charge, then you're not a visionary. Because if you're a preventer of yourself, you can't help others if you can't help yourself first. Illogical.
And so your dad was a visionary.
Yes. He saw my mom and knew he had to marry her, and he waited it out, even though she had a boyfriend at the time, and he said it's okay to marry that person, and he just waited. So, yeah, pure visionary.
Is
Mom too, and my mom too.
is it something to do with claircognizance?
Well, that's a high IQ question. That's a high IQ question. I think you're either born a visionary or not. With our companies, I'd venture to say, well, in the new book, we talk about them being plus twos. Plus twos. If you want, I can explain what that means in a second. But I'd venture to say a true plus two is 1 out of 1,000 humans. Most people, that's a small number, but they don't live in abundance. So if there's 8 billion humans, 1 out of 1,000 is 8 million. So I spent my entire life unconsciously and certainly now consciously at a very high level trying to find them. That's what the book is really about. Like I finally found people who understood me and that I can really help them, and then they help everyone else. They help everyone else because visionaries care about connectivity and love and family, and they're changing the world. The business owner, care about employee count, revenue, office space. They're transactional. They're trying to change their world. There. So I just connect the world to the world. Visionaries to the world. Visionaries plus twos, and then they help everyone else. Very simple.
Huh. And are you a visionary?
Yes.
And when did you realize that?
Unconsciously or consciously?
Both.
Yeah. So, and there are no right or wrong answers, but I'm sure I've been around many lifetimes. We talk to I do. Sometimes my wife does, but we talk to our children about bending time and IQ. Our youngest son, Chase, said he's been on this planet for many, 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 many lifetimes. Oldest son, not as many. But so unconsciously for a long time, but consciously, I finally saw it like really at the highest level a couple days ago at our company's first big in-person event, which was amazing. It was in the Arizona desert, and we had her name's Samantha Skelly. She came in and did a breathing exercise, breath work exercise for the group, and it was unbelievable. Except it happened, so it was awesome.
Like holotropic breath work.
Yeah, that's too big of a word. So I was a journalist, so we're taught to use words at a third grade level. So that's too big of a word for me.
Like the where you kind of hallucinate. Oh, when you're
Yeah.
hyperventilating and
Yes.
your hands clench up and
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
have visions and stuff.
So that's an interesting thing. So my wife, who was my wife runs the company. Thank God. If I was doing that, I'd blow the whole company up. So my wife and partner, my partner does 8 and 9 figure deals all day, and he's an empath. That makes no sense, but you know, none of this makes sense at this point. But except it does. But so they run the company, and then my wife was walking around, and then that's how she described it. That people were reacting like that. Would you like to know the key qualities of a +2 person? Because I
Sure.
think they're important. So there's 6 of them. So my partner, his name is Mark Fujiwara. He taught the group this. He only works with +2s, and then one of the members of our company, we created a connectivity platform for visionaries, which is a lot of fun. So his name's Randy Molland, and then he created what's called a +2 framework. So he uses it within his company, and then he talks about it with all the companies he partners with. So here are the 6 things. 1, listening more than speaking. So this is good for your this is good for you. This is a good exercise. 2, having a giving mentality without expecting anything in return. 3, high character and alignment. 4, prioritizing impact over income. 5, asking how can I help you. 6, being excited about the opportunity to connect again.
The opportunity to connect.
Yeah.
Cool. I love this stuff. Why is it called +2?
Well, I didn't create it. Mark Fujiwara did. I guess I don't like to speak for people, but there's a +2, then there's a +1. Then I think he created that. There's a +2, +1, 0, and then -1, -2. You definitely want to avoid anyone in the minus, and even the zeros, and at this point +1s. Um, but it's
I've
interesting.
noticed
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've noticed people manipulating that how can I help you thing though, because I think that's
Right.
been taught and then
Right.
but you can feel it, right? You can feel
Correct.
when someone's saying something that they think they should say.
Right. So and this is fine, but we've been taught mindset's the most important thing. To me, it's actually wrong. Everything starts with your heart and feeling. So overthinkers, the really high IQ with no EQ, they get in a lot of trouble because they're just thinking about everything without any feeling behind it. But when you evolve that, the true IQ is high EQ, which to me is evolutionary quotient. It's not emotional quotient, it's evolutionary quotient. And then, so if I feel something at this point, I mean, I'm 47, I feel things pretty strongly now. So if I feel something and you do it, then I just do it 100%, all in. And if I don't feel something's right, like the word business, I'm like, why is this so important to everyone? Well, it literally means anxiety. The word sale comes from an Italian word sale, which means dull and dirty, so there's nothing to sell. And then to your point, how can I help you? Most of those people are giving to get. So that means giving to get something back. There's a 4-step thing to that. There's get to get. A lot of the world's just pure get to get. Then there's get to give. You're mostly giving a little. Then there's that third step. I think that's what you're talking about, giving to get. And then there's the fourth level, the visionary level, give to the people who get it. So I'll endlessly give to people who get it because they get it. I don't care if I get anything back, but they will because they get it. Very simple. Simple pattern.
Yes, I love that. And that's the type of people that I
Right.
like to attract.
Right. So that's why I created the company, because I was tired of being in rooms where people manipulate things. And I can feel it so strongly that I'd get out of the room. Don't want to be there.
Huh. Okay, so what's the story with starting the company? And wait, so just to clarify, because you said visionaries, like not business owners, but this is because,
Our company connects visionaries to serve humanity. That's it. That's its entire purpose.
and you are a business owner, but it's a different
No.
type of business.
No. I'm a visionary. I don't do anything backstage. Nothing. All I do is talk to visionaries and connect them. Yes, there is a profit and a financial component to that. Money is energy. Dr. Peter Diamandis, who wrote the Forward for Epic Life, I'm very grateful. He has my favorite definition of what money is. It's just energy. So there's a lot of energy created in that, but that's only to serve purpose. Very simple.
Yeah, but I mean, as a technicality, like you own 50% of your company.
Technically, because my wife is she came in later after Mark and I, so I think technically I own 40%, a little over 40, and Mark owns 40 and Sarah owns 20.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's what
Right,
my
I know.
mind was purely thinking about
That's
it from
because
an
you're only thinking.
ownership perspective.
Right.
Yeah, but ownership's good. That's the podcast I'm about to post about, private property, why we have these rules. Someone in Zimbabwe whose land was stolen from them, and
Right.
what
A lot
happens
of
to a
evil
country where
people.
you don't have ownership.
That's why I connect visionaries to serve humanity, because they'll help everyone else.
Cool. Well, that's a country that needs a lot of help.
But most of the world needs a lot of help.
Huh.
Yeah, so the first chapter of the new book, my dad was in a Belgian house, because the Battle of the Hurtgen Forest was on the German-Belgian border. So he was in a Belgian house, and then his soldier friends wanted to rape a young Belgian woman, and so he told the Belgian woman to get the hell out of the house now, and she begged to stay, and he goes, "No, you're going to get raped. Get out of the house." So that's most of the world. Um, so, yep.
But yeah, there's good stuff as well, and it can get better.
Of course, that's why. And then most people won't create the actual company to do it. They'll make an excuse. I just do it.
Yeah, I guess it's fear.
Right. Excuses. Visionaries never make excuses, ever. Not at the highest level. No excuses. You just do it.
And so, of the four things you mentioned before,
I'm
bankruptcy,
3 of the 4 things. The only one I haven't had to worry about currently is bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy. Since COVID, okay, I'll do this because I think it's interesting. Before COVID, I was still talking to employees or small business owners or consultants. Very few of them were 3. Almost no one was 4. There were 0, 1, or 2. Since COVID, I've talked to 5 people less than 3 of those 4 things. Only 5. Yep.
and which ones do you have?
Everything except bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy.
So, you've experienced depression.
Yes. At the end of 2018, I'd made more money in 1 year than I ever thought possible, and I had never been more miserable in my life. Great learning experience.
And how did you get out of it?
Not making an excuse.
And do you know what triggered it?
I'd made more money in 1 year than I ever thought possible, and I'd never been more miserable. So that triggered, why the hell is that happening? And realized, 1, money doesn't equal more happiness. In fact, it equals the most unhappiness. 2, I was living in a business world cycle where I was trying to get more clients, and I didn't know that was before this current company was even thought about. I was just trying to get more clients, and instead of focusing on things that mattered, I was um, chasing a mask, not the purpose path, the mask path.
And what are the other two? Childhood trauma.
Yep.
So what did that look like for you?
My father died when I was 13. My younger brother died of a drug overdose.
How old were you when your brother died?
Uh, 20s ish. Yep. But my family, pure. I mean, no rules. Um, I have to honor my living siblings now and not be too detailed with that. It's not fair to them, but it was very traumatic with no rules and wolves eating at a dinner table.
Mm. Have you gone in to do like the inner child healing or to give that child inside you like what it missed out on in terms of attention or love or
Oh, yeah. So one of the chapters in the new book is called Adult Kindergarten. So kindergarten was started in 1850s in Germany. Frederick Frabel, and year before he died, the German Prussian government banned kindergarten because they thought it was against religion. They thought it would secularize. I can't say it again, big word. It was too secular. So they banned it year before he died, and now. So he begged the Prussian king not to ban it. So yeah, this company's an adult kindergarten. The newer company. It's not new anymore, but yeah.
what does that mean?
It's an adult kindergarten. Kindergarten's the best grade. You just play and have fun, and there's no tests. There's not really that many rules. So, yeah.
Amazing. What, so it's an adult kindergarten for you?
Well, for everyone in there, yeah. But yeah, for me, sure. Yeah, because if you're not a litmus test for people you serve, that's hypocrisy. So,
Okay, cool. So you get to spend most of your time in play, like doing what you would
whatever
want to
we
do.
want to do. No rules. Yeah.
And it's creating rather than harming, I guess.
Right.
Because for some people, I'm just thinking, for some people to act out of feeling, I don't know if you know about the internal family systems model. So it's like if there's a part of you that's like someone who might be overtaken by a violent part, so to act on what they feel like doing might be like, harm, as you just said, like the woman
Right.
getting raped. But if you're in the self, like if you've healed those parts of yourself or given them
Yeah.
the attention, and then you're in the self, it will naturally, for every single human, look like, creating.
Right. Yeah. That's high level of consciousness awareness. Yeah. So living body life, whatever goal that means, like the rest of my living body life, because there's two deaths, or many, but in this case two, but I just want to raise level of consciousness to the highest level possible because that can impact in a positive way the most people.
Yeah, and you must have that's really aligned with what I want to do
Right.
on
Of course
Earth.
it is. That's why we're talking. It's really not that hard. It's just logical at this point.
Wait, can you sorry, we're jumping around so much, but can you say the story of what prompted you to reach out to me about my
I just
name?
saw a post. Saw with John Hitler. So Hitler with two T's, not one, doesn't matter. His mom was stubborn, like my mom, and said, "We're just gonna accept this name and power through it." Okay, figure it out. And then he couldn't get into Georgetown, so he went to Georgetown and got into Georgetown. So even though he didn't get into Georgetown, whatever, figure it out. And then your name means noble, and then it's a Greek a Greek festival. I don't know if it's still in existence, but it was every 4 years with a bunch of music and stuff. And then chapter 2 of the Epic Journey book is essentially connecting musical notes together. And then to me, a musical note is a visionary, and a visionary has endless curiosity and wants to have endless knowledge. And then I just connect curious people who love knowledge to each other. So it's really just connecting their souls to each other. And then to me, a person's soul is their inner note, their most precious note. So I just like to connect notes. So maybe I just did that right there, but that's how my heart and brain work. I just connect things.
Cool. How did you know about the festival in Greece?
I looked it up.
You were like, what does this
Curiosity.
name mean?
Why would you not do that? Curiosity, knowledge.
Okay. Do you think I could be a visionary?
Great question. So I hear various. That's a great question. Various ways of asking that. That's the best one I've ever heard so far. I always answer the question the same way. Always. So you're either born a visionary or you're not. I'm convinced of that. I was not always technically a visionary. I was an employee, was a business owner, but I was always a visionary, unconsciously. If you are born like this, which is very rare, again, I'd venture to say maybe 1 out of 1,000. It's probably less than that, but it's easier to say 1 out of 1,000. And I've spent my whole life unconsciously and consciously looking for +2s. Okay, so you're either born like that or you're not. I'm convinced of that. If you are born like that, I'm just as convinced that you can work. Originally, I thought it was mindset, which is true, but it's also you can capture that feeling and then just go for it. So yes, you can be a visionary. You personally. But you're either born like, I think you one, you were definitely born like this. I think that's actually what the purpose of this whole show is for. And to get you to listen more, as you told me earlier, but that's good. Yeah.
Wait, what's the vision of this whole show?
To make you a better listener, which is the number one step of a +2 person, listening more than talking. You told me earlier you just like to talk more.
Interesting. Right. Yeah, because I went through depression as well for 4 years, and I had to.
Right. Logical.
I had to flip from being I was in victim mode. It was maybe similar to you. What cured me was to not be a victim.
Right.
Which is easier. I'm not saying that's easy. Like, I lost my brother to suicide, so it can kill people. It's a real thing.
Right.
But
our partner, he started a suicide mental health foundation for visionaries. Yeah, because a visionary is the most damaged of those 4 things. Almost always 3 of the 4. I've met 5 since COVID, less than 3 of those 4 things, but they have the best coping skills. Cope is a word that means fight, like fighting, literally fighting, like with a fist, coping. And then so they have the highest IQ and highest EQ. So most damage with the best coping skills. Most people are not born with the high IQ, EQ. They're not.
And you've met hundreds of visionaries.
Oh, no, thousands upon thousands. My whole life.
Cool.
Yeah, because when I was a journalist, I wasn't really a journalist. I was a visionary who happened to be a journalist, so never wrote about negative news or crime or politics. I don't follow politics at all. I never watch the news now. So just wrote about and connected cool people changing the world, and now write about and connect cool people changing the world. Nothing's really changed. It's just conscious, I guess.
And why are you convinced that people are born visionaries?
Because if more people were born like this, they would do it. They wouldn't live in fear or make excuses.
Huh. But then, don't you think there are those people who they're not visionaries and they're not living in fear. They're like executing very effectively, but they don't, maybe like a lot of politicians who don't necessarily have principles, but they're very, they got themselves to where they are.
No, too confusing for me.
Okay, but if you look at people,
Nope, not looking at it. Too confusing for me.
okay, so you're just focused on people that are visionaries.
I connect visionaries to serve humanity. That's it.
And people who aren't, it's just like a waste of your time kind of thing.
It's a waste of everyone's time. Oh,
Huh.
here, I'll show you. Yeah, so there's a book here. Book called Journey of Souls. Really good. Really good book. All right, so anyway, here, for those who can see it. All right, so see the top circle? Top circle. All right, so the top circle is intense soul interaction within primary clusters. So all I do is attract and connect intense soul interaction within primary clusters. And then the last one, almost no soul interaction between secondary groups with less advanced souls. So it's a pointless conversation. There's nothing you can do with it. Because one, it's manipulating give to get, and two, that most of the time there's no understanding anyway. But if I do connect advanced souls with advanced souls, they can help everyone else, even though many times everyone else doesn't even know, they don't know they're even being helped, but it's okay. But they are being helped.
Huh. And then living within a system where there are other type of people,
Yeah,
how do you,
you create the system. You just create it. The system didn't exist, so I had to create it. Well, at least I couldn't find it, and I was tired of being in rooms where it was people manipulating the system. So I'm like, well, I'm not doing this anymore.
but the practicalities of like being a US citizen or, having to take a plane tomorrow and seeing all the systems going around you and like,
Yeah, we have members all over the world. It doesn't matter where you. I will say, maybe with the exception of somewhere like North Korea, one of our PR partners, his grandfather was decapitated in front of him in Burma when he was a child. He and his dad went to Hong Kong with like $10 in their pocket when he was a kid. They created two eight-figure companies, and then he hired the PR firm. That's the first company I started, but he created an at-home robot for people with Alzheimer's and dementia because his mom has Alzheimer's dementia. So the robot has like a drone and pill dispenser and stuff. Um, so he hired my PR firm to do. Most people can't do that. They're not capable of doing that.
okay, maybe this is a problem I have that you don't have. I'm thinking about, so
A hundred
you
percent.
block,
A hundred percent. Are you still an employee?
no.
So what is your role now?
What do you mean? What's my role?
What is your role? And you're much younger too. I'm convinced it takes 40 years of intense suffering. Well, the main speaker, I don't know if he's the main speaker, but our event, his name's Ian Lopatin. He co-founded the company called Spiritual Gangster. It's a massive clothing line, yoga company. It's really a connectivity platform through clothing, but I want to get this right because if I screwed this up, it would be a disservice to him. But hold on. He said he simplified it. So he's been with gurus and spent months in India. So he said you're either suffering or in enlightenment. Yeah, there's only two things. So most people are suffering. They haven't suffered long enough, or they won't push through the suffering to find enlightenment. Yeah, and then they make
Okay.
excuses.
No, I feel like I'm in quite a good place. The point I wanted to
You're
make
really
was,
close. You're really close. I can feel it.
but the point I wanted to make was you and I both live in systems that are created that where there are unconscious kind of actors. Like for example, the people that run the country or like we
I
have to
ignore
do.
it. I ignore it. I didn't even know who the vice president of our 9-year-old son Chase. He's like, "Do you know who Kamala Harris is?" I go, "No." He goes, "That's the vice president of the United States." So yes, there are. One of the lines in the book is, "Stop." I don't know if this is like this in the UK, but stop signs with the white outlines are optional. Now, literally, I don't mean that, but I kind of do. But no, visionaries break rules. They'll blow up a building. They'll start the fire. I mean, not literally, but they'll do it. They just create glitches that at the event in Arizona, we drove in. We took. It's not an Uber, but it was a driverless car. So there was no one driving. There was no one driving the car. It was awesome. We took it to dinner. So cool to see that.
Cool.
It was actually better than being in a car with an actual driver. Much safer, I thought.
Cool. Okay, but tomorrow when you get on the flight, you obviously, to make it to the UK, you'll have to follow like a clear set of rules.
Yeah, but yes, I understand logically what you're saying. Yes, you are correct. Yes, I understand.
So it's just like a choice that you'll be like, okay, I'm going to be dealing with these systems and I'm just going to do it to get to the other
Well,
side.
right, of course. Yes, yes, yes. So we were on, my wife and I, very grateful, we were on Necker Island for a week, almost a week, with Sir Richard Branson. He has one of the top two levels of consciousness I've met of anyone in living body form. Um, but he had to follow rules. We did a bike ride on a neighboring island, so he had to get on a boat with us to get over to the island. So he didn't levitate over there. So yes, you have to you have to get in line. But the point is if you're dissatisfied with how things work, you create something that works better for you. Most people will just one of my great friends, Pete Kofod, he likens it to sheep and sheepdog. So most people are sheep. They want to, you know, drink water with the other sheep, forage with the other sheep, whatever sheep do. And then a visionary is a sheepdog. So I looked it up because I was curious and I like knowledge. And then a sheepdog, Science Daily did a big article. There are only two primary roles of a sheepdog. There are only two. Only two. So just replace sheepdog with visionary. Sheepdog with visionary, there are only two roles. So one, you keep the sheep in line. Two, you push them forward. Keep them in line, push them forward. You don't interact, you don't hang out, you don't eat, and then people like Sir Richard Branson, they're more like shepherds. They're like a sheepdog for sheepdogs. Sheepdog for sheepdogs.
So how do you measure his level of consciousness?
Well, you can just see it.
Who has the highest level of consciousness?
That I've met Deepak Chopra.
And you think he has the highest?
That I
Oh,
feel
that
it.
you've met.
I feel it, yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so uh, how was your experience at school and why did you decide to go into journalism?
Unconsciously, hold on. I'm going to read this to you. So unconsciously, with journalism, it was to find other plus twos. I didn't realize that until becoming conscious. So school, I'm going to read this because I found that every question now has already been written in this new book, which is really actually interesting. Okay, so I'm going to just read this. So this is for visionaries and then from personal standpoint, because if you're not a litmus test for people you serve, then it's hypocrisy. Okay, so here it is. So many of my friends, again, most of them have ADD, ADHD, were kicked out of class, put in special education classrooms, bullied, or just given a hall pass to stay away from school altogether that I've lost count. Okay, so that's them. I do not have ADD. I'm one of the few people that I know now that doesn't. All right, so here's about me. As context, even though I did fairly well in school and received a full academic scholarship to college or university, I've been booted out of class, given detention, slept through class, come to class hungover or buzzed, or just never showed up. Once in college, I only passed a class and received a D because the professor liked me and I invited him to dinner at my fraternity house. D is for diploma and dinner. I've been thrown out of organizations, my frat for a year, for smoking pot on house property, written newspaper columns that really upset entire groups of people, and done all sorts of other disruptive things. My mom begged me to take the LSAT in college. LSAT's a law school exam. So I took it drunk at 8 in the morning after a full night of partying. I did not do well on that test, and I think, she hasn't found out yet, so unless she listens to this. So, and then in third grade, I told all my classmates, because our teacher was pregnant, because my dad told me, no rules. I told all the classmates how babies were made. I got in a lot of trouble for that one. That was fun. Yeah. So that's a visionary, troublemaker.
And at the time, how was your experience? Were you happy or you were just kind of
Very confused. Yeah, very confused. Yeah, because when you're in a world of where people don't understand you and there's not the soul connection, it's very confusing. So most of my life, my favorite quote now, where is it? Where is it? Hold on. There it is. Okay. So my favorite quote now is, "To be great is to be misunderstood." Yeah, it's a great quote.
Who said that?
Yeah, hold on. So it's from Emerson, Ralph Waldo Emerson from the 1800s. I was talking to Keith Ferrazzi. Keith Ferrazzi is one of the greatest connectors on the planet. For people who don't know and are curious, and if you're a visionary, you'll want to know and you'll be curious, so you'll look it up. I was asking him at an event called Abundance 360, which was started by Dr. Peter Diamandis, who wrote The Forward for Epic Life. Peter's one of the best entrepreneurs on the planet. So I was asking Keith what his favorite quote was, and he said, "It was a foolish consistency as the hobgoblin of little minds adored by little statesmen and philosophers and divines." So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then I looked up the whole quote, which is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. And at the end of that paragraph, it says, "To be great is to be misunderstood." So that's my favorite quote now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. And so you gave us the like revisionist history perspective of becoming a journalist, but what fell into place at the time that you ended up there?
No, that was all I could have done. There was nothing else.
But practically, it was like you turned up to a newspaper.
Yep. I did TV broadcasting. Our high school had a TV station, so I did that there. Worked for the student newspaper in college. I think I sent out 400 resume packages, which at the time was very expensive, with color copies and everything. I sent it all over the United States. Got 5 job offers. And took one near Chicago, and then just kept moving up the journalism ladder. Yeah.
And that was mainly about curiosity.
I I just there I mean, this is the only path I was meant to be on. This path. I don't this all of this stuff was meant to happen when it was supposed to happen. So
But what about it made you excited? Like learning about stories and getting to meet people and share.
journalists, not as well, for the most part, are socially awkward, and they use journalism as a way to connect to people because they don't know how to connect to people. Most of them. And then specifically, I grew up reading the sports section of the paper. Love sports because you see true greatness in the battle, like on the battlefield. Sports is modern day battles. So fascinating to talk to people who can do that and then learning from them. So again, all unconscious, like unconsciously, I don't know, and just it's really interesting to align all of this stuff now, go back on it.
And you found it fulfilling at the time.
I mean, this book is just a journalism. All these books they're just journalism pieces. That's all they are. Yeah, I've never stopped being a journalist.
But the turning point was when your pay was cut.
Correct. Got shot down in an airplane without a parachute, get back into another plane. It's the same thing. Figure it out.
Huh. So had that not happened, you would have.
No, I don't believe in that. If my dad hadn't been hit by a drunk driver and met my mom, who was his night nurse, no. That's too
Yeah,
over.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, of course. Why? No, there is no but. No, there's no but.
Yeah. Okay, but I guess the question is, there was nothing. You weren't depressed at that point. Your life wasn't falling apart.
Oh no.
It was.
No, definitely not.
That was the clear thing. It was like my pay has been cut, so now I can't meet my lifestyle expenses or whatever.
Right.
So I have to find a solution.
Right. Find a solution.
And then you set up the business.
Correct. Which is what created anxiety and the most depressed I've ever been because it was the most business.
And then was there a clear moment when you stopped making excuses and
I've never
made
not made. I've never. No, no. There's never been. No, no. I've never made excuses. But I will say, um, 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 it's actually really interesting to see the suffering, um, at times get, but it gets like, it gets more profound, but you just flip it and you realize it's a great thing. It's actually good. It's
huh.
essential. It's essential. That's actually the missing. In the book, I mean, it's not out yet, but it's like a glitch. So there's a glitch. You're going down this path, then there's an electricity glitch. Visionaries are just they're just lightning bolt glitches. Then there's all this disruption. Then there's a rebirth and then evolution. Then you just go up another. So I've been writing this book during disruption, which is really fascinating. Really fascinating, and then almost done with it. Almost done with it, and then
Huh.
help a lot of people with
Yeah.
it.
Okay, so I thought I was using your words about the excuses of what you said before about the depression turning it around.
Depression's not an excuse. Um, it's a way to transform. Way to transform.
And so it was like a moment that you realized that.
One specific moment, no, but learning, just never. You never stop learning with endless knowledge and curiosity.
And then the business transformed, or that was a different business.
That the PR firm was the first company. Now the second company, which is really all of my focus now, is a global connectivity platform that connects visionaries to serve humanity. So we have in-person events, virtual events. We just started our own TV channel with 30 million reach. We started an MBA program. One of our members is the former global chair of Entrepreneurs Organization, so she started an MBA program, so our members get to do that. And then we just started a philanthropic program for our members as well. So, but I have nothing to do with that. I don't do anything backstage because I'd blow up the company. I just talk to people like who are visionaries and connect them. I don't do anything else. I will say I write these books, so probably do a lot of that moving forward. Keep writing these things.
Oh.
More important.
Okay, you have to tell us the details of the books, but first, I have the three last questions, and
Okay.
you've got to answer them quickly because you need to go in 1 minute.
Thank you.
Okay, what book had the biggest
Man's
impact
Search
on
for
your life?
Meaning. Man's Search for Meaning.
Nice. Viktor Frankl.
Yeah. If anyone has not read that,
Um,
read that now. Yep.
Super quick read as well.
Yep. Thank you.
How do you stay grounded?
I married a stabilizing human. Usually people like me marry stabilizing humans. Usually. Not always, usually.
What three words describe the best version of Justin?
Epic, epic, epic.
Nice. Okay, and how do people find you if you want to be found, and where can they find your books? And when's the next one going to be out?
I don't know when the next one's going to be out. I'm finishing it this week, so I'm glad we're talking. There's going to be some massive news coming with that book, but it's all aligned with how it's just meant to be. It's really fascinating doing this interview right now. I'm very grateful for that. The best site it's called theepicfit.com. Theepicfit.com. That's our company. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks so much, and safe travels to London.
You are very noble, and this was a great festival filled with a lot of music. So, yep, makes sense.